Boleh dengar?
Boleh,
Boleh,
sir.
Waalaikumsalam, Doktor. Boleh.
Display macam mana? Okey.
Okey, Ren.
Okey. Dan okey, sebelum tu, before we get started, so any international student here in the class? Okay, so far from the name, I see no international student. Okay, that means in sometimes I use English. Okay, sometimes I use Malay lah. Okay, I will mix Malay and English lah. But mostly in English lah. Because the terms in the lesson mostly in English lah. So I will English will be mostly used lah in the lecture. Okay.
Okay, Doktor.
Okay, before we get started, we supposed to have a class, last week, right? Okay, but because I didn't get the name at that time, I didn't get the name, so we cannot conduct the class lah. So but now the student is already there, okay, in the record, so we can start the class this week lah. Okay, but don't worry. I think this subject is not much technical lah, like engineering courses. Okay, for example, mathematics or electromagnetics, right? Okay. Okay, but it is very important. Okay, so we go to the lesson plan. Okay, so this name of the course is the engineering management. So make sure you go into the right course lah. And then the course code BEE30103. Okay, so in this course there are many sections. Many sections. So I'm teaching section 2. So section 1, Dr. Budiman. Section 2, myself. Section 3, Prof. Faiz. Section 4, Dr. Ramli. And section 5, Dr. Azilah. Okay. Okay, this is the course learning outcome. Okay, so you can read it. Okay, it's about engineering management. Okay, we go next. We go to the course content. Okay, so basically we have six chapters. Okay, 6 chapters. Okay, so we have 14 weeks. So basically we distribute all the chapters. We will cover all the 6 chapters in within 14 weeks. Within 14 weeks. Okay, so chapter 1 is about the introduction to engineering management, which we are going to cover this week. So basically, it's an introduction. What is the engineering management? What is the role? What are the skills required? Functions of manager, management challenges, and industrial revolution 4.0. So if not covered this week, so we'll bring it to the next week. Okay, that's the first part. Okay, so basically introduction is basically to show the importance or to give motivation for us to learn about the engineering management. And then chapter 2 about the function of engineering management. So what basically we do in the engineering management. So there are a few things, okay, basically about planning, organizing, leading and motivating, and controlling. So we'll go through this one by one. And then chapter number 3 about engineering management tool. So previously we learned about functions or activities in engineering. The next chapter, chapter 3, is about what are the tools that we can use to help us doing the function of management. Okay, so there are many tools. Okay, planning tool, right? Collaboration, documentation, quality management, resource planning. Okay, so we are going to learn about this lah. Okay, and then chapter number 4 is about management method. Management method. So ISO, quality management, Taguchi method, lean production, concept of Kaizen, Sigma. Okay, so all these are the technique or the method how we can manage organization or company. Okay, and then chapter number 5 about the project management. So what are what is the elements, path planning, okay, about the marketing, okay, and then the last chapter is about the maintenance and reliability, about the management and also about the reliability. Okay, so basically we have 6 chapters, and these 6 chapters we will cover within 14 weeks. Okay, about the assessment. Okay, assessment, we have carry mark and final exam. Okay, so carry mark we have 50 marks. So quiz give 15 marks. And then assignment. So this lesson plan call it assignment, but to me it is like a project lah, basically. So this is for group activity 5%, report 20%, and presentation 10%. So this is one big project lah. So it is a group project. Okay, so maybe in week 3 or week 4, I will release the project questions, and okay, and you need to form groups, okay, and then do the project lah. So I will finalize it in week 3 or week 4. So now you can at least try to find members lah. Try to find members. So I will confirm it. How many members? I will confirm it. Later. Okay. So this project give marks 35 marks. 35 marks plus 15 marks for quiz. For quiz also, I have not finalized. It could be a take-home quiz or it could be a objective question. So later on, I will decide lah. Okay, and then another 50 marks. 50 marks is given by the final exam. So final exam, usually we have a mix of objective and subjective questions lah. So it's a face-to-face final exam lah. So that means you need to go to the examination hall and take the exam lah. It's not online lah. Okay, and then another important thing is references. Okay, so here we have seven references. Okay, but the main one is number one. So number one from Moss and Babcock lah. Babcock. Okay, so maybe you can okay. Is I think it's available in the library lah. Okay, about the course attendant. Okay, so student must attend not less than 80%. Okay, so I will monitor the attendance. I will monitor the attendance, and sometimes I will call out some names lah. So please get ready lah. So I'm afraid I talk alone on the screen, so that's why I try to communicate lah. So it is not like engineering. I mean engineering, common engineering subject, like EMT. So I used to teach EMT, optical communication. So that kind of subject lah, requires some mathematics or theories. Okay, physics theories. But this is different. This is more to the combination of engineering and business. So that's why they come out with the engineering management, and it is very important, because this is what you are going to you know to experience when you finish your undergraduate. You go to the uh, industry, and this is what you will experience. Okay, that's all about the lesson plan. So any question about the lesson plan before we go to the the chapter one? No,
That, that,
Okay. Okay, you can interrupt me anytime. If you don't understand, okay, you can interrupt me lah.
that.
Eh, Okay, so we go to the chapter one. Basically about the introduction to engineering management. Okay. Okay, this is the course outline. Engineering, first we go to the engineering and management. Second is management level, and the third is management challenges for engineer. Okay. So what is an engineer? So engineer, uh, there is a definition of engineer. I don't remember. I think in Latin language. Okay. The meaning of an engineer, you see here, the meaning of the engineer is a skillful, talent, natural capacity, or clever invention. So I think you are familiar with engineer, right? Okay. Engineer, basically we build something lah. We build infrastructure. For example, my research area is optical communication. So optical communication. So what's the infrastructure? For example, Unify, right? The telecommunication Unify. So that's the engineer in charge of that, develop the network of the optical communication. So there's one example for the electronic engineering. For the civil, okay, is more easier, right? Okay, is develop building, okay, bridges, okay. So basically develop something, and then make it work. So that's engineer. So a more another way to say what is the engineer is a person applying his or her mathematical and science knowledge properly for mankind and nature. So that means we apply. mathematics and science. Okay, so basically engineer, we cannot run away with mathematics and science. Science, we study detail. We study detail. So let's say, for example, I bring you, for example, because this is my area, okay, Unify, optical communication. Okay, in optical communication, okay, we use many components, right? Many component, for example, splitter. You see it in the we use a laser, right? For communication, we use photo detector for receiver, splitter to split signal. So engineer need to know how it works. How it works. Basically, we can treat it as a I would always say that black box. Black box. You know what is the input, what is the output. That's the engineer. Okay. And if you but and to know the detail is about science and mathematics. Okay. Science basically we deal with we try to explain the theory. For example, splitter. How it works, splitter. So signal, how it split. From input port to the output port, how it split. So scientists can explain it in detail. Okay. Engineer, if engineer can know in detail, it's a bonus, but his main job is what is the input, what's the output, and know a bit the surface, not in depth about the how the component work. Okay, the same for the mathematics. Why mathematics is important? Because we want to get number. For example, power. Right. What is the input power? What is the output power? So if we can get number, then we can do analysis. So engineer need to know the equation. Okay, but to the for example, to come to the derivation, for example, equation. So no need for that derivation. So that's a mathematician job. Our engineer is basically apply mathematics and apply science. So that's why the keyword there is a black box. You know what's the input, what's the output, know a bit about the mathematical equation and what is the science behind it. That's enough. And we just apply, use the component and develop the system. Okay, so that's the engineer lah. Okay, next line, we go to the another definition of the engineer. Okay, so if you read here, the profession in which a knowledge of the mathematical and natural sciences gained through study, experience, and practice is applied with judgment to develop ways to utilize economically the material and forces of the nature for the benefit of mankind and nature. So again, is a knowledge of the mathematical and natural sciences. This knowledge is important, the surface, actually, at least the surface, not in depth. But if you can know in depth, that's better. But usually we don't have much time lah. So unless there is a condition where we need to know in depth about the science or about the mathematics. Okay. But usually engineer, basically the keyword is the apply. You understand the equation. So for example, mathematical equation. You know what's the input, what's the output, right? You have the equation. Equation, of course, there is an input parameter and output parameter. For example, y is equal, the simple one. Let's say y is equal to mx plus c. X is the input, y is the output. The simple equation. So when given the equation, you know if you give this input, what's the output? It's a linear graph, right? So that knowledge is important. Because you are going to apply that, you need to calculate. For example, in Unify, you need to calculate what is the power at the the power before the signal entering the home, for example. What's the minimum power? So you need to calculate that. To calculate that, we need equation. So that's the way lah. Engineers think. And then you are trained as the engineer. Okay. Next, so now we know already what is the engineer, right? Okay. Next, what is the management? Because our course deal with engineering management. So we understand already engineering. Next, what is the management? Okay, so if you read here, management is directing the action of a group to achieve a goal in the most efficient manner. So basically, or getting things done through people. So the engineer is the main job is to get things done. Get things done. If we build for example, building, that means we get the building done. Okay, safely. Follow the spec. So that's the job of the engineer. Get things done. So this is the main thing here. That's why it's bold here. Highlighted here. It's getting things done. So that's the mentality of the engineer. Scientists, more about theory. More about theory, hypothesis, something like that. About fundamental. Engineering is about application, getting things done. If we develop a product, for example, if you are a student of, if you go to the medical devices, right? For example, develop one stethoscope, for example, to measure heart signal. Okay, so that means you need to develop stethoscope successfully. Follow the spec. It work. Okay. So this is the main thing, getting things done. Okay, and then another thing is a process of achieving organizational goal by working with and through people and organizational resources. So in other words, with management, we need to work in group. It's impossible. Impossible to work alone. For example, I would say, for example, Unify, right? Can we build it alone? No, cannot. Okay, to develop, for example, the Unify. Okay, so if you see the workers, right? What? They bury the fiber, okay, under the ground. So it's not just about electronic engineering. It's also about multidisciplinary, So you need civil work. Yeah, right. Okay. To dig the ground, and then bury fiber underground. You need a civil work there. Or if we want to lay out the fiber over the ground, right? Okay, we need to set up a pole, okay, and then manage people, okay, and then lay out hang the fiber. So that's need the teamwork. We need multidisciplinary. And how to achieve this? Through management. So what we learn is just maybe to get the project done, maybe what you learn about theory, about the mathematics, maybe around 10%, something like that. The rest, sometimes you need a civil work, sometimes you need a mechanical work. Sometimes it involves also with a mathematician and scientist. Okay, if the project is big lah, especially high tech lah. Okay, so this is about the management lah. Okay. Next, we go to the management level. Okay, when we say management, it's about manager lah. About manager. Okay. So basically, we have three types. Three type of three levels of managers. We have first line managers. First line managers is basically supervisor or engineer. Okay, so if you have experience like working, for example, in the electronics company, right? Okay, in the shop, for example, they have many lines of production. This is a production, production, right? Production of television, TV set. So every line has its own supervisor. So every line has a technicians. Okay, so there's technicians and operators. So for every line, there is a supervisor who control the operation of the line. So or it could be engineers. Engineers. So after you graduate, you become engineer. So engineer basically a first line managers lah, because under engineer basically we have technician lah. Technician who do the technical job. Okay. So this is the first line managers. The upper level is middle managers. So middle managers, usually the common position is a chief engineer, or sometimes we call it as a senior engineer. So usually chief engineer, okay, they obtain the post after certain years working as an engineer. Maybe about 4 years. So depend on the field. Depend on the field and also requirement. Or another name is a division head or department head. So this is the step. From the engineer, then the next level is the senior engineer or chief engineer. And then the highest level is top level managers. So this one is president, okay, vice president, okay. So this one basically do the planning lah. Do the planning. Okay, later on we will see lah. Okay, what are the job scope? Job scope of the managers. And usually engineer, or if you work in the industry, in the company, you will follow this path. You will follow this path. You cannot suddenly become a chief engineer without become engineers. Unless some exception lah. Maybe some, not availability of the chief engineer, for example. But this is a normal path. From engineer, become senior engineer, and then you will become, for example, vice president, for example. Okay. So next, I want to explain about the job of this management level. So first is the first line management. So directly supervise non-managers. So as I explained previously, for example, in the line there are many technicians. So the supervisor will manage the technician, or the engineer will manage the technician. Okay. So carry out the plan and objective of higher management. So what they get the direction from the middle management, okay, from the chief engineer, for example, they get the direction from the chief engineer, and this engineer will carry out the plan, carry out the plan. Okay, and then another characteristic for first line management is a short range operating plans. Usually a short range. For example, tomorrow or next week. Okay, so it depends on the company. What is about decision making process. So what are the decision process that can be made by the, for example, by the engineer. So every company has its own way how to manage what kind of the decision making. Okay. Okay, and then we go to the job of the chief engineer. Okay, manage through other managers. Okay, and then make plans. Okay, make plans of intermediate range. So maybe about the 1 month, right? So the one is a plan, is a longer plan. Longer plan. Okay. Okay, and then provide an integrating coordinating function. So it's about the coordinating function. Okay, so that's the job of the chief engineer. Usually, chief engineer execute what is the direction of the top management. Okay, and then the job scope for the top management represent to the whole enterprise. Responsible for defining the mission and objective. So the company has the mission and objective. Okay, so top management do that. It's basically about planning. What's the plan of the company? For example, if we have Unify, right? Okay, so Unify. So what area we need to have a coverage for the optical fiber? What area? So that's the decision is come from the top management. Let's say we want all area in Batu Pahat is covered by optical fiber. That's it, for example, that's the decision of the top management. So the chief engineer or engineer then need to execute that direction of the top management. Another important thing, job for the top management is the evaluate the performance. Okay, another job scope. Okay, what so performance of the company. Okay, so let's say I always mention about the Unify because it's my area, so I always so easier for me to give example lah. So for example, the Unify. Okay, how about the internet reliability? Internet reliability of that areas. Is it good? So that is a standard, right? For example, 30 megabit per second. Have we achieved that? If not, what's the problem? Okay, so top management always do the evaluation. Always do the evaluation, and then from the data, then they make the planning. Okay. Next, we go to the managerial functions and the organizational hierarchy. So this one I already explained. So we have 3 type or 3 levels of manager. Okay, first line, middle level, and top level. And basically the manager will do this for four things. So what are the things? The first is the planning. Second is organizing. The third is leading, and the fourth is the controlling. Okay. Next slide, it will explain the detail. What is the planning? What is the organizing, leading, and controlling? But the main thing here is that you see. So if you see the figure here, for the first line supervisors, for example, engineers or supervisors, okay, you see what's the most you see the least they do is planning and controlling. This is the least they do lah. Mostly what they do is the leading. Is the leading. Okay. So if we go to the middle level managers like chief engineers, okay, they do more planning than the engineer. Okay. Okay, so in terms of the planning, top level managers, vice president, we spend more time doing the planning than the senior engineer or engineer. So let's say they have 8 hours of working hours, 8 hours. So maybe half of that, or maybe 4 hours, okay, spend on the planning. Usually planning is through meeting lah, meeting, okay, and then that usually top level managers always involved in meeting lah, because of what? They need to do a planning, and also they also need to do more of the organizing, organizing, okay. Organizing basically about the the organization structure, and then top level managers spend less time on leading. Leading basically deal with people, deal with a technician or deal with customers. So they don't go into that. Usually they get information from the chief engineer or engineer. So if you see here, the first line supervisors spend much time in leading. Why? Because they need to communicate more with the people, with the technician, with the client, and then get things done. It's more to technical things. Okay. Okay, and also top level managers spend most longer time for controlling. Compared to chief engineer or engineer. Controlling. Okay, I will explain it later. The next slide. Okay. About the management work. Okay. So about management work, we have planning, organizing, staffing. So usually staffing is come together with organizing. They come together, but some textbook they separate organizing and staffing. And then another job is to leading and controlling. So we go first to the planning. So what is the planning? Planning is about setting mission, objective, and also decision making. Decision making. For example, as I said about the unified coverage. So which area? In Batu Pahat, which area is the main priority? Okay, so that's the planning. And then the chief engineer or engineer will execute. Okay. The next the next part is the organizing. Organizing is basically establishing the structure for the objective. Right? For example, okay, we have the project install the unified, right? In, let's say, Kuala Lumpur. Okay, so we develop the organizational structure. Okay, who who will fill up the position? So how many engineers? Okay, how many chief engineers? Okay, will be located at that area. So that's the organizing. That means usually about manage human resources. So staffing, okay, involve filling and keeping fill the position. So they always come together lah. Usually staffing, okay, how many technicians, okay, how about the resources, resources to, let's say, how many optical fibers required, okay, and then the next job scope is leading. So leading, what is the leading or leader? Leader is basically influencing people to get the job done. That's a leader. So the leader is the person who are responsible to get the job done. For example, building a bridge, for example. So the leader will make sure that the bridges is built correctly, follow the standard, safe. Okay, and then the next job scope is controlling, the next function. So what is the controlling? Controlling is about, for example, the financial. We have many categories of controlling. For example, in terms of financial, okay. So in terms of financial, about the what is the budget is about planning, right? Budget, okay. About the budget, about the, we need to know about the balance sheet, right? About the profit or losses, okay. And then from that data, what action we can take so that we can optimize the profit or increase the profit. So this is in terms of financial. So the controlling usually involve evaluation activities. Evaluation activities. So this is the function of managers lah. Function of managers. So as I said, different levels of managers, they spend hours, depend on the level of managers. For example, the top level managers always usually spend more time on planning and controlling. Planning, controlling, and also organizing. So leading, mostly for example, engineer or chief engineer. That means to deal with people, deal with technician, deal with the customers. Okay. Okay. Okay, we try to finish the. Okay, about the managerial skill. So what are the skill required for the managers? Okay, first, there are three types of skill, and the first is the technical skill. So technical skill is the basically what you learn, what you are learning now in the undergraduate, right? Okay, about the mathematics, about the science, about the experiment, okay, the theory, the technical things, and also don't forget, when we say technical, it's not just limited to the engineering things, but also in the business thing, For example, accounting, okay. Accounting is also technical things, right? You know, you need to know how to read a financial report, right? Okay. Okay, that's the technical skill. The first type of skill, okay, required for managers, and then the second type is the interpersonal. So interpersonal, basically the soft skill. In another word, is a soft skill. Skill related to dealing with people. So to dealing with others and leading, motivating and controlling them. So because workers are human, workers are human, people are humans. That means the emotion is not always stable. There is always up and down. Motivation sometimes up, sometimes down. So as the leader, we need to make sure that motivation is uh, is good. So otherwise, the performance will degrade. So that's the interpersonal skill. And then the third skill required by the managers is ability to realize the factors that will determine organization success or failure. So this one is analysis lah. So sometimes we need to know what are the factors. Okay, maybe the planning is not good. So this one required some analysis and some wisdom to make the correct analysis. Okay, so this figure, okay, shows the skills required, the proportion of skill required. So we have Y axis is the skills required, X axis the manager level, lowest, middle, and top. So if we see here, for the lowest manager, for example, engineer, right? So engineer, if you see here, they need more technical skill. For example, how to lay out the fiber, right? And also how to measure the power. Measure the power from the transmitter to receiver. So they need more of that. Okay, technical skills. So this is what you are learning right now. Actually, you gain technical skill. Technical skill. Okay, if you see here, conceptual skill is less for the engineer. Conceptual skill means the analysis. Analysis is less. The engineer require more of the technical and interpersonal. Interpersonal is also high proportion because dealing with people. Dealing with people. Okay, but as you go to the top manager, right, the technical skills required is less. Technical skills required. Okay, so is spend more time on the conceptual skill. That means analysis. Let's say the profit is reduced. That means the company get a less profit. So what are the reasons? So that kind of the conceptual skill. That means the ability to do analysis. Okay.
So this is the, I think the same thing. Okay. Actually, the previous slide explain the current slide, explain the previous slide lah. I mean the proportion of skills required for the top management, middle management, and supervisors. Okay, next, what are the managerial role? Okay, so I think this one, I have a meeting 9:30. Okay, so I think for now, for our first class, I think we will cover until here lah, until this line. So I'm sorry because I need to attend meeting 9:30. Okay, but next week we will have the class lah. So next week we will start at 8:30 lah. 8:30. Okay. So we will continue from this point now. What are the managerial role lah? Manager role. So we'll cover this. Okay, until finish chapter 1. And then if we have time, then we go to the chapter 2 lah. So as I said, this subject is not like EMT deals with mathematics or optical communication, right? You need to write down equation, something like that. Okay, it's more about the management. About management. But it's a very important subject because this is the one that you will come across when you go to the industry lah. Okay, so hopefully that you can take it seriously, especially about the theory. So sometimes I try to relate with the experience. Okay, so that you have the idea lah. When you go to the industry, so what's the expectation? What's the expectation when you go to the industry? Okay, so any question before we end the class? So
Not yet, Doctor.
okay, so we have how many students here? Okay, we have 42, 41. Okay. 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 So if no question, then we end the class. Okay. So we have an online class until mid semester break. So after that, we will have a face-to-face class lah, physical class lah. Okay. Okay. So if no question, then we end the class lah. So see you next week 8:30. Okay. See you next time. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam, Doctor. Thank you, Doctor.
Waalaikumsalam.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.